catch. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny.
It's not funny.
Give it a minute.
This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, and even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser joining me today. Chase is on vacation. It's just going to be us two for the next 2 hours, and we have got a lot to talk about today. We're talking NBA, we're talking NHL, we're talking NFL, we're talking a little college football as well. So we have got you covered. Greg Wyshynski from ESPN will join us at 9:45, and Gentry Estes from the Tennessean will join us at 10:30 to discuss all of those topics. But we are live from our Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios this morning. Nick Keyser, how are we doing this morning?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm doing good. And usually I do this with Junie when you're out of town, but
Yes.
You are not on the go. So I'm glad that we are here today and we can kind of catch up from our Saturday mornings that we've not had so far, all three of us. I guess the three musketeers, as you would want to put it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad to be here with you this morning. I know Chase is having a good little trip up to St. Louis, so...
Yes, he is. Chase has a nice little vacation. Nick will join me today and tomorrow from 9 to 11 a.m. But Nick, kicking it off this morning, the Milwaukee Admirals 2-1. I know that Rexroad had a rant on you about tweeting during the game. The floor is yours.
Look, I don't watch all of these games in depth. I will say, if you're not listening to Aaron Sims calling games, you're missing out. He is one of the best play-by-play hockey voices I have ever listened to. And so personally for me, if you want to listen to any coverage, we'll have you locked in right here on 102.5 The Game. But yeah, I mean, last night's game was really fun. But no, I don't watch the games. Not all the way through, at least. I do listen. I was listening last night, as everybody should, like I mentioned. But I will say that when you take a look at what I do pay attention to, Michelle, I think the best thing is the Admirals they do a really good job with posting highlights, and they even will tweet out what the coaches and the player will say after the game. So look, that's as in tune as anybody can be with the entire team. And look, they had a watch party in Milwaukee last night. They even had a watch party in draft picks in Bellevue.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, Shane in the Borough, text in on our text line, 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Breaking news, Joakim Kimmel might be pretty darn good. He was the Preds' first-round pick last year. A couple highlight videos of him on the Milwaukee Admirals Instagram. And also, Askarov, he is getting way far out of the net. He's trying to play forward out there. I don't know what he's doing.
He did
I
last
get nervous, but there's a cool video of him. So the question of the day, we like to do this. What is your interest level in watching the Milwaukee Admirals in the postseason? They're up 2-1 on Texas right now. So what is your interest level? Text us, call us throughout the entire show, 615-737-1025. The Miami Heat take down the Celtics in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Jimmy Butler with
Himmy Butler
with an incredible performance. Jimmy Butler has been one of the most entertaining players to watch in this entire postseason. Him and Jokic, I would put the top two for me, but Jimmy Butler ended the game with 35 points, 5 rebounds, I think 7 assists and 5 steals. So an incredible performance. It was huge that Miami was able to, beat the Celtics in Boston for Game 1. Looking forward to that series up tonight. The Denver Nuggets and the Lakers will have Game 2. Nuggets are up 1-0. I'm nervous for the Lakers, especially because it was a close game. And, you talk about the workload on LeBron and being in Denver, they always mention the altitude. When players come there, you have to, the training staff, Lisa Salters had a full report on it before the Game 1. You got to hydrate more. You got to eat carbs because it really does impact you while you're playing the game. So what does LeBron James look like tonight? He hasn't been shy to say earlier in the series when he had a couple days in between, that helped him. He is 38 years old. I know he's still, running full court and blocking a shot, but that does concern me, especially because he played a majority of game one. I think that, and we will give our official picks at 10:45 at the end of the show, but I feel pretty confident that the Nuggets could go up 2-0 here, Nick.
And let me point out this, too. It is a lot more difficult than people think as an athlete to perform in the Denver area. I mean, just to give you some frame of reference, I mean, I went snowboarding and I was dying out there. If you are not physically prepared and if you're not drinking electrolytes and if you're not eating enough, it's going to be very detrimental for you. And so I think when you're a pro athlete that spends an entire series there, I mean, you have to take care of your body. And hopefully, LeBron, we know that he does a good job as it is. He's the GOAT, as most people say. But if you can stay in shape and stay with your team and stay hydrated, I think you'll be okay. But I think last night, game one to me was a pretty fascinating game to watch because I thought Denver was going to run away with it, Michelle. I really thought they were. But then it was Austin Reeves that just kept firing back.
Well, and that's what's kept the Lakers in this. Anthony Davis has been performing at, such a high level. I didn't know if we would ever see Anthony Davis perform at this level again. I mean, we're seeing vintage Anthony Davis. He's been so injured just these last 2 seasons, and really his time with the Lakers, that his inconsistency has made it concerning to see, okay, are we going to be able to see LeBron and AD really perform at that high level when they won the chip a couple years ago? But I just think it's also ironic, Nick, too, that the last 4 teams, it's the same as the bubble year. So people are tweeting, hey, everybody's saying the bubble wasn't real. We're back here. And if the Lakers do it again, that would really, I know people like to talk about legacies all the time, but that would, and I'm not even going to get into this argument because I know we will get them, but at 38 years old, if LeBron and the Lakers win a chip, whew.
So, and I saw this headline on ESPN the other day. It may have been yesterday afternoon when I was watching it up here in the studio. So, would this be the hardest title that LeBron has ever had to get? Do you think that's true? I think there's a good case for it.
I would still put that really bad Cleveland team that he was on, that he quite literally carried the entire team. I would still put that as one, but this at 38 years old, we talk about athletes all the time. Some of the athletes that we are watching right now, between Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, some of the athletes, Tiger Woods, that we have seen and the longevity of their career, it truly is been incredible to watch some of these players and how long that their careers really have been. So, as we mentioned, Miami up 1-0 against the Celtics. Denver up 1-0. You got game 2 tonight for the Denver Nuggets and the Lakers. And then finally, we have some NHL. I feel like we had to wait so long finally to get a game, Nick. We have game 1 tonight between the Panthers and the Canes. What are just some early thoughts you have on this series and them kicking it off tonight?
I tell you what, if the Rats rain down whenever they go back to Florida to win some of those games, and look, that's the weirdest thing aside from us throwing catfish on the ice. That's
right?
The one thing that I think is one of the strangest things in hockey. But overall, when I think about these two teams playing, the first thing I think of is chances off the rush. How fast can the Hurricanes be as opposed to the Panthers, who were dominant on the rush all season long, realistically? Now they've mastered it here in the last couple of months, and they've mastered it in the first couple of series for them. They took down the Boston Bruins. They had no problem with scoring goals on the rush. They were obviously down 3-1 in that series, and when they fought back, they really brought it to you. And I think the other big thing in this series is goaltending. You got Sergei Bobrovsky that's playing. You've also got Freddie Anderson playing for the Hurricanes. And Freddie Anderson, he was part of those Toronto Maple Leaf teams that just couldn't get past the first round. So he got traded, and actually he signed as a free agent, I believe. But either way, he's down there trying to have his own story of redemption. And then you look at the Panthers, who, by the way, the last time they made it to the finals was in 1996. John Van Briesbroek was
26 years ago.
Yeah, John Van Briesbroek was the goaltender. Patrick Waugh was the goaltender for the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche did sweep them, but that series was a lot closer than some people think. And I think when the Panthers are coming this far, I think they have every ounce of energy and talent in them to make it to the finals. And we'll see how they square up against them this evening. I don't know what the season series was necessarily. I'd have to go take a look. Mm-hmm. But when these two teams play, it's a good little rivalry. I think this will be a new rivalry after the season, or after this little series is over in the postseason.
Okay, well, they've got game 1 tonight. As I mentioned, game 2 between the Lakers and the Nuggets tonight. I'm calling a little shot. I think that the Nuggets go up 2-0. I feel pretty confident in that. But at 10:45, Nick and I will give you all of our picks for the game tonight. But coming up next, a college football town getting quite a big project potentially happening right in our neck of the woods. Coming up next on 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
Tonight,
the Eastern Conference Final gets started in the Stanley Cup playoffs as the Carolina Hurricanes host the upstart Florida Panthers. Carolina, Florida, just as we all expected. Our coverage begins at 6:30.
your home for the Stanley Cup playoffs is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now that you've taken on that big job, you shouldn't have to settle for the big box. You've earned a trip to Northern Tool, and we're ready for the details. We know all about the little things that make the biggest difference. Maybe that's why they call us a problem solver's paradise. From pressure washers to power tools, pallet jacks to push carts, Northern Tool and Equipment carries the brands you depend on, like North Star, DeWalt, Milwaukee, and Strongway. We're made for this. Come see us in store or shop online at northerntool.com.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Real estate investors, listen up. D&M Development announces the pre-sale of Nashville's only non-owner occupied short-term rental resort community. The New Cumberland is perfectly located between Germantown and East Nashville, with amazing views of the city and the Cumberland River. The New Cumberland is a resort-style community featuring community pools, spacious kitchens, 4 bedrooms and 4 baths. D&M Development is releasing 16 units in their Phase 1. Available now. Go to thenewcumberland.com for information. That's thenewcumberland.com.
How can a half-carat diamond magically grow into a 2-carat diamond? With Genesis Diamond's 110% diamond upgrade guarantee.
Our trade-up policy is the best in the United States.
That's Stasia at Genesis, explaining how if you buy a diamond today and want to trade it in for a bigger one next year, Genesis always gives you back your original purchase price plus an extra 10%.
We will gladly give you every single penny you paid for the diamond plus an extra 10%, which is amazing. No one does that.
As a real-life example, take Stasia's customer Paul.
When he first started, he got a half-carat, and then as he became more successful, we rewarded him. He came in and he got a 3/4 carat, and then he's traded for a carat. I'm sure I'll see him this year for a carat and a half. As they grow and change and become more successful, their engagement ring can grow with them also.
And there's no catch, no minimum trade-up requirement, and it works on diamond studs and diamond pendants as well.
You get every single investment dollar you put into the diamond, you will get an extra 10% towards the new diamond.
Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
You can trade as many times as you wish.
Continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hi, I'm Buddy Teaster, the CEO at Souls for Souls. We're a global not-for-profit based here in Nashville, and we provide shoes and clothing to people across the world. We're joining forces with 102.5 The Game for the 2nd annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament on June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. A portion of the proceeds from the tournament will provide new shoes to children experiencing homelessness right here in Nashville. Hope you'll join us for an afternoon of fellowship and fun, all in support of a great cause. Go to thegamenashville.com/golf for more information and to register.
All the big plays.
Philip Forsberg scores!
All the big stories.
If you're not ready to play in this league, you will lose. I don't care who you're playing.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Because I love the sport. We played the way we needed to.
Why would he make that move?
360, he slams it home.
The Game and the Game Nashville app. Taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is Chase and Michelle.
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game this Friday for the grand opening of the new Dunkin' in Spring Hill, located at 2098 Wall Street. Stop by and grab some coffee and register for giveaways from 7 to 9 a.m. Welcome back in, Chase and Michelle. Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keys are with me today, and you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Download their app today and use their promo code, The Game. The promo code's pretty good. You can get some money back. But I teased this earlier in the break, Nick. The University of Tennessee had a press release come out yesterday on Wednesday that essentially announced that they would be eyeing an entertainment district near Neyland Stadium and Thompson Bowling Arena that would span the Tennessee waterfront. And the statement by Danny White, who is their athletic director, he said, innovation is at the forefront of everything we do. This is the new Neyland Entertainment District, and it amplifies the mindset. It's going to be a massive project that has potential to impact the entire city. It's going to be a year-round destination that not only enhances our game days, but also elevates the everyday academic experience for our entire student body and campus community year-round. So this report came out yesterday, as I mentioned, and Pete Thamel put out something as well that, this is the first massive project that we've seen like this, but also the University of Iowa has started to do something very, very similar. They announced this just a couple months ago, but essentially the same thing that Tennessee is doing is building this entire entertainment district surrounding college athletics. So when this report came out, I started thinking and just looking at the past year and a half, 2 years of college athletics, and looking at it from a 300-foot view of how it has changed, what is different. You can start with conference realignment. Schools joining the Big Ten, schools joining the SEC, some mid-majors joining the Big 12, and all these conferences shifting and moving, and it's not the end of it. It really is just the beginning of schools switching conferences. So that's one. Two, NIL. All of NIL, college athletes able to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. And this has been something for years that athletes have been pushing. Finally, the NCAA tries to block it, and now athletes are able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. But we're in a stage right now where there's no rules, there's no governing body, because the NCAA is essentially hands off. They didn't want you to do it, but then once the Supreme Court overrules it, they don't have any rules in set. They don't have anything that is guidelines for everybody. It really, really is the wild, wild west, and everybody just trying to figure out and navigate, okay, where do we go from here? Okay, is this okay, but this isn't okay? Now teams, now schools, athletic departments are having collectives. Donors want to be a part of it. It clearly is going to have a role in recruiting. We talk about Tennessee here, or just SEC schools in general, of having such a big alumni network that wants to help, that wants to donate and help, pay to get the good players essentially and have your teams be successful. All of that. Now you have, this story came out earlier this week, players are able to elect to be a part of the EA Sports video games. So now they're going to be making essentially Madden for college football players, and they're going to make actual players in there.
Yeah, and players can opt out to not have their name in the game too, which is insane to me. You have that much time spent making a video game. I remember a couple of years ago I had I think it was Chris Vanini. He was the one that tweeted out that they were working on it. And I had several of my staffers at the time during college be like, do you think Western's going to get in it and stuff? And I'm like, I mean, probably. But the thing that came up was, are they going to be okay with that? And obviously we are here today talking about, okay, well, players can opt in or opt out to be part of this video game. Mm-hmm. But at the same point in time, I think you make a really good point, Michelle, because the athletes I knew in college, and I'm sure your experience was like this too, if you were ever interested in trying to talk to an athlete about a deal or if they're interested in something. I think during COVID, some people took advantage of it because they knew that they could go be sponsored or endorsed or try to promote their school in any way, shape, or form. And SIDs obviously gave me a hassle with trying to figure stuff out from athletes, as most young reporters know. That's kind of how it goes. But I think the trend I saw a lot with college athletes was they were very foreign to the idea about all of this too. They're just acclimating as best as they possibly can. They know, I really want to have this support from a brand because it's cool, right? The movie's out right now talking about Michael Jordan signing with Nike. And that's a good example of what it looks like, I feel like. But I think going back to even what the Volunteers are doing around just the stadium and what the entertainment district can look like, college athletics, it has felt like pro sports for a long time. And I think these athletes are being seen more in that light, I think, as we've developed NIL, as we've developed the transfer portal, because it feels like free agency, quite frankly.
Well, the transfer portal, too, is something I didn't even mention yet, and I honestly forgot about it. But my point in bringing all of this up, bringing up the University of Tennessee's new entertainment district they're bringing, the NIL you talked about, conference realignment, the transfer portal, and the ability just to hop in the portal and feel out your options, test the waters. You mentioned it's like college free agency. So many people are out there. So many people are in the portal. Now these entertainment industries. I mean, we knew college athletics was a business before all of this happened. But I'm looking at it right now of we are about to see just, I believe, a complete change. I mean, college athletics, with all of these changes happening within, some months, some years in between each other. I mean, this entertainment district, I mean, it is going to revenue so much money. I don't know if it'll go to the university, if it'll go to the athletic department. That'll, I know, be brought up of, well, what about the academics? Is it going to go only to the athletic department? I know that'll be something that'll be brought up around other organizations around the country, because all schools are going to be doing something like this too. But my further question is, when do sports books get involved in things like this? And that's a whole nother level of being just similar to the pro world. And I think we're just at such an interesting point right now because of all of these changes. And I would love to know, if anybody has a strong opinion on this entertainment district. I mean, if you're a Tennessee fan, you got to be very excited because they're going to have it right over the parking garage, the G10. So this is what the project is extremely early stages, but they would include an overhaul of Neyland's exterior and tabletop above the G10 garage to support tailgating, restaurants, retail, and entertainment. So that, I've been to one game at Tennessee, and that parking garage top is, a lot of people have tents and cornhole, and all their setups over there. So, what is that going to look like? And I go even further to say, is anybody going to set rules in place for NIL? Because I'm all for players making money. I'm all for it. Or these entertainment districts, are they going to be money for the school? Are they going to be money for the athletic department? Like, where is that going to go? Because that's going to be a grift between athletics and academics. I just think that there's so many moving parts right now in college athletics. And listen, I love college athletics. I'm all for players getting paid. I am all for, building things like this to enhance college athletics and to just up the game day experience. And I think that we're just in the beginning of it. But I asked the bigger, broader question, what will college athletics look like in 5 years from now?
Yeah, that's a big question because if you want even smaller schools, because I went to a smaller school, if you want those to thrive, if you want those to market themselves to a larger audience, then you're going to have to pump some money back into academics and pump some money back into your staff. Because I'll be honest, I saw a billboard in Bowling Green, Kentucky, pretty close to campus, that was for the University of Louisville, and I felt offended. I went up there for graduation recently.
Hell's down.
I know, and I was not comfortable with it, but I was like, okay, well, they put the money into it, but that's a good example of marketing. You know, they're in Kentucky. They can market themselves wherever, but right there, right in front of campus, I was like, that's interesting. But my point overarchingly here is if you want to grow your school, then you're going to have these athletes play a part in it. I think there needs to be some sort of, okay, we're going to put some money here, or for the, let's use the Vols' sake here. They're building this entertainment district. Well, that's just going to bring more and more people there. They already have one of the biggest stadiums in North America. So you're going to have all these people coming to games. You're going to have all these people going to the entertainment district. You got Thompson Bowling is right there too. So you're going to have numerous opportunities to ultimately promote your school, make it just make it a just highlighted place in the entire country to come watch sports. And if you do that, if that's your goal at the end of the day as that athletic department, then you're going to be one of the biggest programs out there. And that's obviously the compete level that all the schools are going to have here in the coming years. So in the next 5 years, Michelle, I would love to, come back and see what that conversation was like. But 5 years from now, it's going to be a lot more like pro sports than anything else. And I mean, some athletes I even got to know, I think they have thought about, I need an agent for some of this kind of stuff. Kids don't have direction with this.
No, and that's going to be the biggest struggle. I mean, my former boss at Kentucky, his job now is specifically on the Kentucky basketball staff to be an advisor for all of these kids to make sure that they're not being taken advantage of for a certain deal. And I think we're going to see more jobs opening like that. I think we're going to have probably departments in the athletics building that is in charge of monitoring name, image, and likeness if they aren't already there. And I go back to the University of Tennessee and what Danny White has done for the athletics. I mean, he has winning programs right now. The women's basketball team is a nationally talked about brand. The men's basketball team has been nationally recognized. They were number one in the country, but it's been very successful for the last couple of years. Obviously, we know the story with football, baseball. They've been in the big core sports very, very successful, and that helps, fuel the fire for a project like this and gets people even more excited because the programs are winning and because the programs have been so successful in the last couple of years. Coming up next, we have to talk a little Ja Morant. Charles Barkley had some interesting comments, and I think he just laid out the situation perfectly on this entire Ja Morant situation and what a suspension could look like from him in the NBA. Coming up next on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
Want to jump into the mind of a 15-year NFL vet? Well, here's your chance.
D-Mace.
It's Ask D-Mace.
Come on, bring them on.
Ask questions on football and life to Derek Mason every Friday at 12:30 on Ask D-Mace.
Don't mess with her. The skilled guy. Money reigns supreme.
On Caroline, Willie, and
D-Mace.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. School's almost out. Parents, are you ready for the summer break? Long days, hot weather, restless kids? Oh my. We've got one possible solution for you. Our annual student car giveaway. If you have a high school student who makes good grades, listen up. Our student car giveaway is our way of rewarding those smart students. For every A on their report card, they get one entry to win a brand new Nissan Versa. That's right. Good grades might equal a free car. The student doesn't even have to have their own driver's license. Just good grades on a Tennessee high school report card. It's simple to enter too. Just go to newtonnissan.com/our car giveaway and follow the instructions to enter. They must be present to win at the giveaway event at Newton Nissan in Gallatin on June 30th. The deadline to enter is June 12th, so don't delay. Enter your high schooler today. Yes, this is a free car that'll be given away to one lucky Tennessee high school student. Even if they only got one A in gym class, they're eligible.
Family Leisure invites you to vacation at home with your family with a new spa, pool, patio furniture, or wood play gym this summer.
I really want a spa.
Family Leisure has 40 spas on display from 3 of the biggest brand names: Artesian, Best Spas, and American Select. Prices starting as low as $29.99.
What about above ground pools?
Family Leisure has hundreds of pools in stock and on sale. Guaranteed installation before Memorial Day, starting as low as $29.99. Installed.
Wow, that's great.
If you're looking at a spa, I want some new patio furniture. Family Leisure has patio furniture from all the big brand names like Hanneman, Woodard, Jensen, and Apricity. There's more than 100 sets on display to choose from with free delivery.
That sounds good to me too. And maybe a new Sabre infrared grill to go with it?
We really should look at the wood play gym for the kids. Family Leisure has the Diamond Point swing set on sale at only $24.99 installed. It's Family Leisure's Vacation at Home sale going on now at both huge locations, Franklin and Antioch.
When looking for quality adult recreational sports in Nashville, look no further than Midstate Sports. With over 25,000 participants, they are one of the largest sports organizations in the Southeast. Summer registration is now open for adult sports like softball, sand volleyball, soccer, flag football, kickball, and basketball. For a full list of adult sports offerings, check out midstatesports.com. It's no debate. Play Midstate.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Jason Michelle podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
I got some good news. Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Jason Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Pisses me off when I hear guys say that, yo, man, when you're making $100 million a year to play sports, your life changes. There are certain rules and regulations you have to live by, plain and simple. You can't do stupid stuff. That's the trade-off. Now, if you want to do all that stuff and give all that money back, more power to you. You can make that stance. Say, you know what, I want to do what I want to do. I want to flash my gun and make videos and do things. Okay, that's fine. But you can't make money on the NBA doing this stuff. I just hope that he grows up and realizes, like, yo, man, first of all, you're not a thug. You're not a criminal. You're not a crook. You're a guy making $100 million a year to dribble a stupid, $200 million to dribble a stupid basketball. And you hit the lottery. We all hit the lottery to do something. There's people out there work 9 to 5, 8 and 9 hours a week, gonna make $25,000 a year. They would kill to be in our situation. And, you know, Kenny's right. At some point, it's not your friends. Bill Parcells used to always say, and I love it, he says, yo, man, you just an unlucky dude. Bad stuff happen around you all the time. You just an unlucky dude. No, man. You got to look in the mirror and say, yo, you know what? Maybe I'm the problem. And it's disappointing because the kid's a great player, but to be a fool already, then be a bigger fool a couple months later, and this is like your 5th or 6th gun thing.
That was Charles Barkley last night on the TNT broadcast, discussing and giving his thoughts on the Ja Morant situation. Welcome back in, Chase and Michelle Knizovic. Nick Keyser with me right now. We are live from our Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios right now. Nick, when I saw those comments last night and I heard Charles Barkley, and we always think of Charles Barkley as a goofy guy, and when he says something, when he gets serious and when he feels really passionate, I feel like people listen to him because he doesn't always talk stern very often. He's the goofy, fun-loving jokester on the TNT broadcast, the best broadcast in all of sports, I will say. But I think he laid out this situation really, really well because, yes, we live in the state of Tennessee. We know all that he is not breaking a law. This is not what that's about. This is not about breaking the law. This is about the actions that have happened with or surrounding Ja Morant this entire season, for that matter. The most recent, other than this one, 2.5 months ago, a similar situation, but in season, while he was playing, while he was on the road, while he was at an away game. You know, this isn't the first incident. This isn't going to be the first conversation he's probably going to have with Adam Silver. And on the lottery broadcast the other day, when Adam Silver was asked by Malika Andrews about this situation and about Ja Morant, what I heard from him was shock. Was shock that, well, I had a conversation with Ja not too long ago, and I assumed and I thought, and we were on the same page. A conversation between them that I look at Adam Silver as one of the best commissioners in professional sports.
He's up there, yeah.
And to see something happen again, it's just dumb.
Yeah.
It could have been avoided so easily. It really could have been avoided. And, you know, it really is sad when you look at the situation, because Ja came into the league, a kid from Murray State wanting to put a small college on the map.
Yep.
Goes number 2 overall in the infamous draft of Zion Williamson and Ja Morant and RJ Barrett. And we all know what's happened with Zion. He can't stay on the court, but Ja has, I think, exceeded expectations. I mean, in the MVP conversation last year, and if he wasn't hurt, you know, I believe would have had a really good shot at maybe winning it. I mean, the joy he has brought to the city of Memphis and the type of athlete. I mean, people have referred to him as the Elvis now of Memphis because he's one of the biggest stars to live in Memphis. I mean, since then, he is an ultimate superstar and has an opportunity to be the face of the NBA someday. But to allow so many incidents, whether it be the people he hangs around, Devontae Pack, who is one of his really good friends, he now has been suspended for a year from all the Memphis Grizzlies home games because of the incident happening after the Indianapolis Pacers game up there earlier this year. Then you have these 2 Instagram lives with Ja Morant, one in a strip club, you know, clearly intoxicated in the video. And then he gets a suspension of 8 games. And I know there's been a lot of talk about, okay, well, where do they go from here?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And also, you know, and for our audience, Michelle and I, you know, we're fresh out of college. And I think the one thing I think of that's kind of crazy to me is the fact that he's gotten in trouble on Instagram Lives out of all things. Like, I don't see
social media.
I don't see very many kids do stuff like this on live unless you're trying to flaunt something that you really don't need to be doing. And the fact that he was caught with it, and it was so quick too. It was so fast. And so
you had to pause it because his friend realized in the moment this cannot be happening right now, because he knew the past actions that got Ja into the situation that he is in now.
Exactly. So, I mean, look, yes, we know what the law is in the state. I'm fine with it. You know, Derek has talked about it. I agree with what he has said this week, too, about the whole situation. When it comes down to what he needs to have done to him because of this, look, I think you could give him 20-something games. I think that's completely fair. I would not even rule out him being out until January or something like that, because if you need to get this through your thick skull that you cannot flaunt a weapon out of everything for people to see. And, you know, going back to what you said about what Adam Silver said, the thing that sits home for me, Michelle, is he's a role model for the next generation of basketball players and kids that may get into basketball because of him. And when you have that big of an impact on millions of people around the globe, and you get caught with a gun on a live video that you don't even see that often, that's embarrassing. And he needs to be remorseful for what he has done. And I think he will be. But I think at the end of the day, And I've heard stories about him at Murray State too, just him being a big personality and him getting away with things and just enjoying life. And the other thing too, he has a daughter, right? I mean, he has a young family that he is going to be a part of. And what example are you going to set for her? And I'm not trying to just throw his daughter out just to say it, but I think when you have a young person that is your own blood, you need to set a huge example for them for how you need to behave as an adult, and he's not doing it lately.
And, you know, people can say, well, he doesn't want to have influence over people, and he just plays basketball and he makes all this money. Well, when you are drafted number 2 overall and you are you're up there with one of the best basketball players in the entire world, you have to take on that responsibility. I think Charles Barkley laid it out really nicely in the clip. He said, you're making over $200 million. People would kill to be in your position. People who work 9 to 5 just to barely pay their bills. You know, you won the lottery coming from Charles Barkley. And I just think that at some point you can blame your friends, you can blame the people he's been around, but he has to look in the mirror and he has to be the one to make the changes. He's the only one who can do it. And the sad thing is if he doesn't, I mean, you will have sponsorships be taken away. Companies won't want to work with you. Players won't want to play with you. We talk so much about Ja Morant and being in Memphis and his likability and players wanting to come to Memphis to play with him.
And they could be better after the offseason, but now that could take a hit possibly.
No, I mean, especially whenever the suspension, whenever we know what a suspension will be like, because I truly believe there will be one. Whenever Adam Silver decides, okay, this is what we believe is fair for Ja in this situation, you know, you get into the offseason and you're looking around the league of trying to boost your roster and get some veteran players maybe who can help a young Memphis team who has a lot of talent on it. A veteran player isn't going to want to have to deal with somebody who's not all in and focused. You see the talent on the team, but if Ja's suspended for the first half of the season or a majority of the first half of the season, it's not really going to be a landing spot for a lot of people who are looking to join a team that could be successful in the postseason. And that's just on the basketball side of things. I think when you talk about just the human and the sadness of this entire situation.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting into. Yeah, that's why I brought up him being an example for his daughter, because what are you going to do one day if your own child is doing things like this? And you know, the example he sets from here on out is going to be monumental, especially for this. And, you know, hopefully this is a chapter in his career where he can look back on and say, I wasn't mature enough and I was not capable of doing some of the things that I needed to be doing at the time. And so he can be a leader. He can be something special for this Grizzlies team. And that's a market that needs to change in general for what they're known for and just how that city is. And, you know, I've become friends with someone that, you know, lived there and knows what it's like to be in that area. And they want to see change. And I think Ja Morant can be a part of that change. And I think it starts with him, Michelle, like you said. And he needs to look himself in the mirror and he needs to decide what kind of person he needs to be as a man and as a basketball player.
Yeah, I completely agree. We will keep you updated if any news comes out regarding that situation. We also have Gentry Estes on with us at 10:30. Going to ask him about that. But coming up next, Greg Wyshynski from ESPN will join us. Going to talk a little NHL playoffs. Coming up next on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robbie and Rexroad.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements. hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser in for Chase McCabe today. And as we do every Thursday at 9:45, we go to our phone line driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com and welcome in Greg Wyshynski. Greg, how are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm over in Raleigh watching the Hurricanes practice before Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final.
Okay, well,
so it should be a fun one.
I was going to say, are you in an airport somewhere? I know you've been all over the place throughout this postseason.
I safely landed last night here in Raleigh. Immediately made my pilgrimage to Cookout, which we do not have in New York. So it reminded me like when I would first go to LA, and like the first thing you do after landing at LAX is you run to In-N-Out, and then like I lived in California, and kind of In-N-Out became sort of whatever. But like Cookout is still that for me. Like I make the pilgrimage. I go get my tray, my double cheeseburger, cheddar style, and I am a happy boy when I get to Raleigh.
I love that. You know, each state, when Chicago, the Portillos, you got to get that. Everybody
Yep.
has their own thing. Greg Wyshynski from ESPN on with us right now. Greg, well, other than the playoffs, the big news coming out of the NHL this week is that the Arizona Coyotes, the big project that they proposed in Arizona did not get approved. So now the biggest question is, what happens now? What is your pulse on this situation? Do you think that, we could be seeing the Coyotes in a different state by the time the season starts next year?
It won't be by the time the season starts next year unless something unforeseen happens. I broke the story yesterday on ESPN that the NHL and the Coyotes expect the team to play in Mullet Arena, the 5,000-seat college hockey arena that they played in last season. They expect them to be there for the 23-24 season, and I think that's twofold. One, all of this happened so quickly, and honestly, the Coyotes really did believe that this Tempe arena bid was going to pass. They thought they had a 10-point cushion in the polling, and then it turns out that was wrong. And then the other thing is that the NHL knows that based on the current franchise values, they want to get this right. They need to find the right buyer if there is going to be a buyer. They need to find the right city to move them to if there's going to be a city to move them to. And they certainly don't have a plug-and-play type destination like we had with Winnipeg when Atlanta moved. You could stick a team in Winnipeg, they're going to sell out. You stick a team in Houston, you're not sure about that. So they're going to be in that arena for one more season at the very least, and then we'll kind of figure out from there if they don't have a plan B where they might be playing after that.
What do you think would be the most likely option as far as the cities that are out there? I know Houston's been thrown out there, Salt Lake, potentially Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it really depends on what the NHL wants insofar as which markets do they see as expansion markets where they get a lot more money than they do on a relocation, and which markets do they see more as a potential relocation option for a team like Arizona. Houston is the top of the list on both. I think it's the fourth largest city in the U.S. It's fertile for an NHL team. It's the kind of demographics that league has been chasing. And they have an arena that's NHL ready, and the Houston Rockets owner has expressed interest in the past in having an NHL tenant in that building. The thing that the NHL is not crazy about is the fact that the team would be a tenant. They like to have, a situation like in Vegas where the Golden Knights show up and they have their, a lot of ownership of the arena and the revenues there. Same thing with Seattle. So that's the only kind of downside to Houston. But I think it would probably, if I was going to rank them, it would go Houston, then Salt Lake. And then, there's a lot of wild cards out there, Kansas City being one, Portland being another. But I think right now, Houston and Salt Lake seem like the two that have the most buzz. And it certainly would also sync up geographically with the Coyotes having playing in the Central Division to have one of those teams join the NHL.
Greg Wyshynski is with us. So, Greg, you're down in Raleigh. I think the biggest question for me is what can the Panthers do, especially on the road with the kind of rush that they do have on offense? They've been able to capitalize on a lot of chances and put the puck in the back of the net when it matters, i.e. how Nick Cousins, a former Nashville Predator, clinched the series and was on the rush, little toe dragging release there. So what do you think the Panthers are going to have to do early and often on the road to start off this series?
It's two teams that like to play the same kind of style. I mean, it's not a whole lot of puck possession. It's a lot of dumping the puck quickly out of their own zone, trying to force turnovers and hound the other team. I think Carolina is better at it than Florida. I think Carolina is the best at it. In fact, the best defensive team in the playoffs with the best penalty kill in the playoffs. So, I find the dynamic interesting for the Panthers almost psychologically in a couple of ways. One being that they are not going to be the same level of underdog against Carolina as they were against the Leafs and certainly against Boston. So they're really good at punching underneath, but there are certainly going to be people that feel like they can win this series. And then the other thing, too, is that they're kind of going to go from being the hunter to the hunted. And it's something the New Jersey Devils had to deal with last round with Carolina, where the Devils, did all they could to slow the Rangers down. And now all of a sudden there's a team trying to slow them down. And it was an adjustment. And I think it's going to be an adjustment, too, for Florida, where now you're going to have a team, dedicating all of its resources to making sure that Matthew Tkachuk and Alex Barkov and all those other players don't beat you.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely something to keep in touch with this evening as the game starts and the series gets underway, Greg, for sure. So going west here for a second, I want to talk about some goaltenders. And for the Golden Knights, they've relied on Adin Hill a lot, and he's actually looked pretty good. I've been rather impressed with how he's been stopping the puck and what have you. And then you've also got Jake Ottinger that's going to be down on the other blue ice. And, when you think about the goaltending matchup that there is in that series, who do you think kind of has the upper edge in that regard, and who do you think can probably outduel the other once we see this series start on Friday?
Yeah, it's very much the Stars with the advantage in that in net between those two. I covered Game 7 between Dallas and Seattle. Ottinger was the first to admit that he didn't have the strongest series against the Kraken. His numbers in most of those games were sort of below expected. But he had a really strong Game 7 and back up a really strong defensive effort from Dallas. And, I think he's the real key to this series. And, I expect him to have a bounce-back effort in this series. I think that he is like you said, probably the best goalie still playing in these playoffs. And when you compare it to the sort of by committee, let's see who's healthy enough to put skates on type thing that's happening with Vegas, it gives Dallas a distinct advantage in that category.
Well, Greg, excited for Game 1 to tip off tonight. You're in Raleigh. You'll have all the coverage. People can follow you on Twitter. Thanks so much for hopping on with us today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yep, Greg Wyshynski of ESPN does a great job covering the entire NHL and has been pretty busy through this postseason. Coming up next, start of hour number 2 on Chase and Michelle, we'll discuss Treylon Burks and Will Levis heading into this NFL season. Coming up next on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Keep listening to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena, Friday, May 26th, courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary. Listen for your cue to text to win DMB tickets from The Game and our friends at Green Trees Company Dispensary.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit BeerhouseNashville.com for their live music schedule. Get a $50 gift card for half off right now at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last.
When Smashville wants to rock.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Looking to the sky, saving, looking for a sign of life, 'cause it's too cold for you here.
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Your company's hiring. Who isn't? We would love to show you how to use 102.5 The Game to attract and retain employees. We can also help you find the exact person you're looking for with a targeted digital campaign. You can trust our team to help you build your team. Email us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
All of us at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game want to recognize our active military, veterans, first responders, and educators with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nate Keiser. The Milwaukee Admirals took down the Texas Stars 4-3 last night to take a 2-1 series lead in the Central Division Final of the AHL playoffs. Isaac Ratcliffe played in his second career postseason game and scored an early goal, but he wasn't done as the Admirals needed a late goal to win it. Here's how it sounded on the Admirals radio network.
Trying to slip away. He'll play it off the wall. Left point. Del Gaizo. Shot to the net. Tip scored! Isaac Ratcliffe! Isaac Ratcliffe scores with 61 seconds to go. With 1:01 remaining in the third period. Tips that 5-hole.
And the NHL Eastern Conference Final starts tonight between the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. This is the first time that these two franchises have met in the postseason. The Nashville Sounds were shut out 4-0 in Durham last night. They'll look to bounce back with coverage starting at 5:20 p.m. on 94.9 The Fan. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny.
It's not funny.
Give it a minute.
This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, and even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser in for Chase McCabe today and tomorrow. We are live from our Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios today. And if you want to watch us live streaming on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook, our video streaming is presented by Superbook Sports. Getting into a little NFL talk, I told all the listeners today that we are going to hit on everything, Nick. We hit NHL, we hit college football, we hit NBA, and now we are circling all the way back around to King, the NFL, discussing specifically the Tennessee Titans and Will Levis. I want to get a temperature on the fan base right now. So text us, call us, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. How are you feeling? The draft, we're a couple weeks out from the NFL draft. Your initial thoughts versus how you view Will Levis now. I know there's only been a couple interviews after rookie minicamp. You've seen a couple videos. It shouldn't drastically change your mind on what you think he's going to be as a player someday, because we truly won't know until we see him on the field. But have you settled down? Have you begun to grow on the idea of him potentially being a quarterback for your team? Have you grown on the idea of him just being a Titan, for that matter? Because a lot of people hated the pick. But I think something interesting around Will Levis has just been the amount of conversation surrounding him based off the non-on-the-field stuff, based off of answers, TikTok videos, assumptions about him. And we can say that, you know, all of it is people just saying things out there, but the fact of the matter is he did drop out of the first round. And so not all of it is false. I mean, I think some of the false stuff is people making too much about the YouTube videos, the TikTok videos, some of the confidence maybe people view as cockiness. But, I mean, Charles Robinson, who covers the NFL as a whole for Yahoo Sports, has come on for a while now and said, he's been intense, and that's why some NFL GMs or people don't necessarily love the personality. But when you're evaluating a quarterback, unlike any other position, you're going to evaluate them even more coming down to their personality, because at the end of the day, they're one of the most important people on your roster. Here was Charles Robinson earlier this morning on Robbie and Rexroad discussing Will Levis.
Will Levis has an acquired taste personality. I will say this, Will's not alone. He went through that in a much more difficult way than most prospects do, because he's a quarterback. Everything with a quarterback is blown out of proportion, to the millionth degree. It's just how it is, particularly anything that people think reflects on leadership, or how is he going to gel with the coaching staff or players or meeting rooms, yada, yada, yada. Aaron Rodgers is a great example. His entire career, as good as Aaron Rodgers has been, he's always rubbed certain players wrong, teammates. There have always been people inside the Packers that did not like Aaron or the way he carried himself. There were other people who were like, I am literally just employed, for years because of Aaron Rodgers and the ability that he brings to the table. Levis, quarterbacks are like that. I mean, unless it's not like Tom Brady didn't get ripped internally with the Patriots. He did. There were people with the Patriots that did not like Tom and thought that, particularly people in the front office, where they would push, hey, drafting, this certain rookie receiver or whatever, and then they would feel like Tom just disassembled them as soon as the player was through a half dozen practices in training camp, and they hated that. They felt like, hey, Tom destroyed this guy's confidence, and he's not the same. The best players have it happen.
That was Charles Robinson earlier this morning on Robbie and Rexroad. Says Will Levis is an acquired taste. And that's not the first time I've heard somebody say that Will Levis's personality is an acquired taste. Matt Jones, who does Kentucky Sports Radio, was on with Jared a couple weeks ago and said, Will Levis's personality is an acquired taste. The first time you meet him, you kind of have some question marks, some hesitations. But once you get to know him, you like him. You like the guy. I think everybody can compare to somebody in their life that the first time they met them, they're like, oh, I don't know if I really like them that much. I'm not sure if I am getting their sarcasm, or I'm not sure if our personalities really mesh together. But you get to know the person and you think, okay, yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. And I think the interesting comparisons he brought up were a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who I think has broadcasted the fact that he hasn't been always the easiest guy to work with, but people deal with it because he is the type of quarterback he is. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won the MVP multiple years. So you forget some of those things. He mentioned Tom Brady. We all know how successful Tom Brady is. I don't need to lay out his resume for you, but also mention his intensity level and that people didn't always love working with him. So I think when you hear he's an acquired taste, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's different for sure.
It's not.
But when somebody brings another level of intensity, and that is more of the word, I think, that describes him. The intensity level, the will to win, the will to not want to lose, the intenseness in practice, the never stops working. I mean, Colton Dowell, the new wide receiver they drafted in the 7th round, said he's rooming with Will and he's afraid to grab the remote to the TV because Will's been studying film left and right, afraid to turn the TV on. He's an intense guy. So I think you can look at that and you can understand maybe why there was chatter coming out surrounding the draft that people didn't like him at first.
Well, and they didn't like him just because he put mayo in his coffee as a joke either, which you already tried for yourself, so you know how much of a joke that truly is. But look, I think when you think of an athlete and when you think of a leader, the more I've heard about Will Levis, the more I've heard from you or our morning show, whoever's talked about him. And, we've heard it from Vrabel. We've heard it from his new teammates now, too. If he is someone that can truly be a pretty decent leader, that's one of the biggest qualities for me. And, when Chris Sanders has come on and he's talked about, he lays his body out on the line. He's going to always come back in the game for you, whether it's his shoulder, his toe, whatever. And when I was watching him a little bit this season, I do watch a little bit more of SEC than I do anything else, like most people here in the South were raised to probably do. But Will Levis, I think he brought the charisma to the team that was needed to win. Did they have everything? No, they did not have everything. But at the end of the day, too, I want someone that's going to give me 110%. And Mike Vrabel doesn't want dumb bleep to hurt the team. And I think this is a guy that's going to bring that to you. And that's why it's probably pretty popular that if the Titans are not good this year, Michelle, go ahead and toss him in and see what he can do. And I think throwing him into the fire, like Treylon Burks said that he wants to be thrown into the fire this year after he was last year, I think some of these guys could thrive. There's a possibility for sure. But I think the biggest question is he going to be mature enough to handle the pressure? So far, I think he has shown to us that he's capable of it. And there was that highlight little pass that was going around on social media a few days ago of him throwing a ball to who? I don't remember who it was to, but, it was a nice, pretty spiral like most quarterbacks can throw. But like I said, the charisma, the leadership, if you have those qualities and if you're smart and if you're not watching TV in your free time, that's just an example, and I'm sure it's a microcosm of what he's like away from the field. So if I was a fan, I would personally love this pick right now.
Well, and just as far as, the focus factor, you want your quarterback to be the player who's the most obsessed with watching film, intensity, is obsessed with getting everybody motivated, in practice. And I think that, and I'll bring it back to our very own Joe Rexrode, who wrote a phenomenal article on him on The Athletic. You're welcome for the plug, Joe, if you were listening right now. But Liam Cohen, his offensive coordinator at Kentucky, was like 120%, whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's a lift, whether it's a team meeting, whether it's watching film, whether it's on the field, never takes a day off. And I think that when you actually look at what this team is about in the press conference that the Tennessee Titans had the other day with some of the newer guys on the team, Daniel Brunskill, Azeez Al-Shaair, Bunting, I mean, they all were talking specifically about conditioning and how intense it is, but, the ability to get through that intensity together. I think Azeez Al-Shaair was like, I haven't felt in this good shape in forever, and it's been really, really intense, but it just shows, the type of player, the type of, practices they're going to have. They want to go hard in the beginning. And I think now the biggest question is, whenever we hear from Mike Vrabel again, is, hey, have you changed something from last year's offseason to this year's offseason? Or is it just a majority of the guys who are coming from different organizations now into this building here in Tennessee of just the intensity level they want from you day in and day out? And I think one of the funniest quotes was, I think it was from Bunting. He was like, Vrabel said to somebody, how does the grass look? And he thought, oh gosh, on a Monday we're doing sleds. And in the social media department, shout out again to the Tennessee Titans social media department, they put out the video of hitting the sleds. And I mean, guys were pushing all the way till they fall flat on their face on that turf in there. So, when you talk about intensity level, and he may be an acquired taste, but I do actually think that the mentality he has and what we've seen, what we've heard, and everything actually is pretty parallel to some of the mentality we've seen from Mike Vrabel.
And you know what, too, Michelle? He could really elevate some of these rookies if they gel together in the right ways. And, a Dowell, someone that was taken, really late in the draft, and he is talented enough, obviously, to be on this roster and at this camp. He could be elevated by his teammates. Will Levis is going to have that chemistry with him, and that's what it's all about, is taking advantage of your opportunity. And I think it doesn't matter where you're drafted, even if you're an unsigned guy and you just come in and you do as best as you possibly can, that's all that team is going to ask for. And I love that Mike Vrabel, he's conditioning them because, if you are the hardest working team, you don't have to be the most talented team to necessarily win any games. But I also think when you consider how much work they're going to put in to be one of the best teams, and then their schedule, like we've talked about somewhat this week, they could look pretty favorable. So I think that's something to consider at least.
I still believe that Ryan Tannehill will be the starting quarterback. Don't get me wrong, unless any foreseen circumstances happen. I still fully believe that Ryan Tannehill is going to be the starting quarterback and that he'll be able to elevate some of, you mentioned a Dowell. I mean, Dowell was a 7th-round wide receiver. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but, we know the different level of play, and I don't think it's as easy as that. Dowell, as a rookie, still has to, prove a lot of different things, and I don't think it's as easy as putting a guy like Will in, but I do see your point, Nick, where you're saying that them gelling together early, eventually when, maybe next year when he is the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, you already have that chemistry based off. Looks like we have Kevin really quick who wants to weigh in on the conversation. Let's go to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Welcome in, Kevin.
Hey, good show. I wish people would stop complaining about Will Levis. I'm not a fan or a foe, but his intensity level, isn't this what we've been wanting from a quarterback, from a player? And, when they talk about Tom Brady, and I'm not saying Levis is Tom Brady, but Tom Brady had that intensity where he ratcheted stuff up. So Levis could be a bust, but I'm glad for the intensity. I'm glad for the focus, and I'm glad for the, if he makes other people uncomfortable, so be it. Everybody needs to ratchet up their intensity. That's all I got.
No, thanks, Kevin. I think Kevin brings up a really good point and actually transitions me into our next segment perfectly. The intensity level. How can it impact the guys around you, and how important is it for your quarterback to have it? Coming up next on Chase Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
We are your home for every big pass.
Chase Elliott will pick up the stage 1 win.
Big wreck.
Joey Logano gets turned. He's hard into the inside wall.
And big win.
Kyle Busch has won here at the Talladega Superspeedway.
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
Hey, what's up? It's time to bring that big bet energy this summer with Superbook Sports. You know it's my go-to. It's my official sports book. I love it. It's easy to use, and it has everything that I would ever want to wager on. Superbook Sports is the most trusted name in sports betting, and right now, check this out. You can use promo code THEGAME to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, it's that simple. They'll match your first bet up to $250 when you use that promo code THEGAME. Simply visit superbook.com for terms and conditions, or you can download the Superbook Tennessee app in the app stores. Enter that promo code THEGAME, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. And again, they have everything that you can wager on. Tonight, Lakers, Denver in Game 2. Right now, LA is plus 5.5 on the road. Denver at minus 5.5. You can get it all right there on the Superbook Sports app. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Italian beef sandwiches and Chicago dogs. Doesn't get much better than that. Until now. 312 Pizza Company is now serving up their award-winning pizza by the slice. All day, every day. Don't have time to wait for a full pie? No problem. Get a slice instead. Order a full pie but want a little more? Add another slice. Do it. Honestly, just go get a slice. 312 Pizza Company. Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria. Go get a slice.
Men, this is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you're suffering with erectile dysfunction or other sexual health issues, you need to know that there is no one-size-fits-all treatment because everyone's made differently. That's why our urologists and medical providers offer a broader array of treatment options and can even combine or adjust treatments for greater effectiveness. ED can result from aging, low testosterone, prostate issues, underlying medical conditions, and more. And understanding why you have ED is the first step in treating the condition. That's why you need to know your numbers and understand what other factors might be contributing, and then work with an expert to treat it. And that's where we shine. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we have protocols that are effective in nearly 90% of cases, which means we'll likely find the right treatment for you and you can get your sex life back. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices to serve you, Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra, results vary.
Do you love sports, and are you passionate about helping local businesses and your community grow? Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and let me tell you, the best attributes of working with us on our sales team at 102.5 The Game include the ability to build relationships with local businesses, craft effective advertising campaigns, and the potential for high earnings. If you have excellent communication skills, think creatively, and have the drive to succeed, just shoot us an email with your resume at together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Tonight, the Sounds continue their 6-game series on the road at Durham. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 5:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and the Fan app.
Taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is Chase and Michelle.
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game has your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena Friday, May 26th, courtesy of Green Trees Company Dispensary, providing high-quality legal THC products. If you want to win those Dave Matthews tickets, text in the keyword TREES, TREEZ, trees with a Z instead of an S. We're having fun here. Now to the game text line at 615-737-1025 to enter to win. So like I said, if you want to win those Dave Matthews tickets May 26th, text the keyword trees, TREEZ, now to the game text line 615-737-1025 to enter to win. Also, we've got Nashville's best deals this week for Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is a place full of food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy the traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzel, and more. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25. Bavarian Beer House, while supplies last. Nick, we had a caller last segment. Kevin called in discussing the Will Levis discussion and his level of intensity. Charles Robinson came on earlier this morning of Yahoo Sports and talked about, there was a lot of chatter during the draft process that he wasn't interviewing well, or people were being maybe a bit turned off by his personality, whether that was being too intense, however you may view it. But I think Kevin brought up a really good point on our phone line. Don't you want a quarterback who's like that? Don't you want a quarterback who is obsessed with getting better, or who is obsessed with watching film, who eats, sleeps, breathes football? You don't have to worry about him getting into any drama. I think of the Kyler Murray situation down in Arizona when he had the contract extension. I think it was early or last year. And it came out that in his contract had something about video games and making sure that he logged this many practice hours. And you don't want a quarterback like that. Don't you want a quarterback? I mean, Tom Brady, he was a 6th-round pick. Probably, if you're looking back on it, yeah, people think, oh, he should have gone way earlier. But the draft is the draft. Where you go doesn't matter. It's how you work and it's how you perform on the football field. Tom Brady was, if you watch the man in the arena, they would say this Patriots team had this term of having an edge, getting an edge up on somebody, competing with your other teammates to do one more rep or one more lift or whatever it may be, but just having that edge factor to go a little bit further each time when you're putting your bodies through this day in and day out. And wasn't that one of the major flaws of Marcus Mariota? A very, very nice guy. I was never here to cover him, and everybody says he was, so nice, but he didn't have that edge or intensity or ability to speak up and tell somebody to do your job, because even if you're a young guy out there like Will Levis will eventually be someday, you have to feel confident enough to tell everybody, hey, this is what we're doing, and have that intense level, that authoritatiness to speak up on that. Don't you want that from a quarterback?
I mean, you obviously do. Now, when Mariota was here, and a lot of my friends were huge Mariota fans, especially after where he was drafted, we all thought he would be the next franchise quarterback and he would lead us to the promised land. Well, no, that obviously was not the case whatsoever. So when you look at a guy like Will Levis, and very, very premature, I would say, of a conversation to have as far as what he's going to offer us on the field. Mm-hmm. He is going to be someone that is going to give us a lot of energy. He's going to give us, his knowledge of the game is going to come out during the games that he's going to play in, perhaps in the preseason. And I would love to see that come out of him early on, because if he is someone that can adapt, that's going to clear, in my opinion, I think that's going to clearly put him in the QB2 conversation without any shadow of a doubt. Because if he learns this offense and he's able to master it the way that he has already been we've kind of already figured out that he's trying to do that. And if he is, then this fall, it's going to make it so much easier for Vrabel and Tim Kelly to go, yeah, I could turn to you if I needed you.
Well, he already is quarterback too. I mean, I understand that they said it's Tannehill, Malik Willis, Will Levis. That's a little tongue twister there.
Yeah,
Willis,
it is.
Will Levis.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, when you move up to go and get a quarterback in the second round, in the first round, whatever it may be, you can't put him on your practice squad to then be available to every other team around the NFL. And we had Jim Wyatt on earlier this week, and you have to play the numbers game in this. As Malik Willis, and from people I've talked to his coach, I mean, he has been working this offseason. But the unfortunate truth is that they saw what they had in him last year. And if you play the numbers game right now, unless the NFL passes the rule where you can have a 54-man roster, but 3 of them are quarterbacks, or the one extra player is a quarterback for you, yeah, that might be a different story. And I think that could be ideal just because you have more depth at that room. I think it would have been ideal last year.
Oh, it definitely would have been.
For this Tennessee Titans team, because you would have seen Logan Woodside on the team and Malik Willis. They still wouldn't have been able to develop him, and he probably wouldn't have had to take a snap last year.
That's true. And Woodside could have been more of a teacher for Willis. And maybe they kind of had that, chemistry for the most part. Who knows what that was really like. Now, that's not really a talked about or covered enough topic, I would say, but I will throw that in there as in, look, if you have the quarterback room supporting each other, obviously you want to compete for the starting job, Michelle. But if you have guys that are trying to know this offense and are trying to make sure that, hey, if you mess up here, I'm going to let you know about it, or I'm trying to teach you here, maybe you should call this play over this one next time, because that was something that they raved about Woodside last year during the training camp, was he knows his offense really well. The only problem is when he's gotten those looks, he didn't look very good, and he wasn't able to execute as best as he probably thought he could. So when you have Willis, and obviously he's going to play a role. Hopefully this rule does come into play, like you said. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see that.
The conversation would be completely different. Trent weighs in on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trent says, it definitely would have made a difference for the 49ers, and I truly believe that game will have some influence in if we see that rule this year. Because you look at the 49ers roster top to bottom, I mean, just the injuries they had at the quarterback position alone, between Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, then you get Brock Purdy, he's finally healthy, and in the playoff game, he hurt his arm. Everybody saw that game, and then how the 49ers season just sadly crumbled in front of our eyes on national television. I think it just reiterates the fact of how important the quarterback position is, and your team can look completely different if you don't have one. Maybe if they had a quality backup, it would have been a different story. And their situation is very unique just because of all the injuries they had at that position. But that's definitely something I am a proponent of. I think that being able to have 3 quarterbacks on a roster, if they did pass that and allowed 54 people, but that extra spot was for a quarterback, I'm very much on that train of things. But a lot of other storylines to discuss about the Tennessee Titans. I want to talk about Treylon Burks. How big of a step does he need to take next year? And Gentry Estes is going to join us at 10:30. I'm going to ask him that from the Tennessean. You're listening to Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
They talk sports. The Predators get the 2 points, which is obviously what they needed.
They're not making big moves that are jaw-dropping signings in free agency.
They talk life. Well, I almost just fell down the stairs, so there's that.
My backpack was so heavy, the seatbelt alarm was going off the entire trip.
But most of all, they have a good time.
Here or there.
Yeah.
Chase and Michelle, weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Get a great deal on one of the most versatile tractors in the industry, the Kubota BX, which is part of Kubota's tractor lineup rated #1 in durability and owner experience. Stop by Krebs Kubota today and bring home select BX series equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800. Now through June 30th, see Krebs Kubota or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment dealer. Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Online at KrebsKubota.com.
Join the Nashville Area Chamber of Commerce on June 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th for an exclusive look into what makes Nashville the IT city. Whether you're new to town or a Nashville native, Intro Nashville gives you the opportunity to become engaged and connected to our city's community. During this multi-day immersive program, you'll hear from over 20 community leaders and industry experts whose storytelling unlocks a comprehensive view of our city and region. Gain historical and economic perspective on Nashville while establishing relationships with local business leaders. Space is limited. Register now at intronash.com.
The spring menu is here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, featuring their signature cast iron pie with herb roasted chicken, English peas, carrots, potato, simple greens, and a toasted biscuit crumble topping. Or garden succotash with snap peas, black-eyed peas, roasted peppers, sweet corn, tomato, and caramelized onion. Or try the steak fritas with pan-seared ribeye. Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel, open daily till 2 with brunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 till 2.
Did you know that more than 4,000 children in Nashville are experiencing homelessness right now? And across Middle Tennessee, that number grows to more than 9,000. Hi, I'm Jamie with Souls for Souls, a global nonprofit based right here in Nashville, and we're on a mission to provide these kids with a brand new pair of athletic shoes through our For Every Kid program. Because we know that something as simple as a pair of shoes can change a child's future. Students who receive these new shoes tell us things like, I can't believe these shoes are mine. I finally have something new of my own and don't feel left out. And my feet feel like they can breathe. We're joining forces with our friends here at 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament to help provide new shoes to kids across Nashville. It's all happening June 7th at the Hermitage Golf Course. Come join us for an afternoon of fellowship and fun, all in support of a great cause. Go to thegamenashville.com for more information and to register.
Cromwell Media, the proud owner of this radio station, is recognizing 3 of our talented teammates in May. At 1029 The Buzz, part-time host Roman Haviland notches 11 years, and Chris Atticus, the Buzz brand manager and midday host, celebrates 3 years. Nick Frazier, part-time producer on 1025, 1063 The Game, passes his first year with us. We thank each of them for helping us make a difference every day. And by the way, we're always looking for new talent. Ping us at together@cromwellmedia.com and let's talk.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too.
I got some good news.
Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Chase and Michelle on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, other local celebs. I'll be on a golf cart driving around somewhere to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you can have a chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up, play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. Welcome back in, Chase and Michelle. Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser in for Chase McCabe today. And now we are joined by Gentry Estes from the Tennessean on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. Gentry, how are we doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's good to be with y'all.
Yeah, good to have you this morning. We'll jump right into it, Gentry. On the Tennessee Titans front, some veteran players spoke earlier this week. I know that one player people were eager to hear from was Treylon Burks, considering he's going to have to take on a big responsibility in truly being that wide receiver 1 this year. What was just some takeaways that you heard from him, and how important is it that Treylon Burks takes that next big jump in his sophomore season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical, obviously, for the Titans. They're in a position where they need him to be that guy, and if he's not, I'm not sure who else is. But to that point, I think it was encouraging to hear what he had to say, basically talking about how this offseason was going to be different. He wanted it to be different for him. He said he kind of learned from mistakes last year, and he didn't directly tie that to the issues breathing and kind of being in shape early, but that's how you kind of took what he said, especially given the fact that he really talked a lot about sticking around the Titans facility this offseason, the work he's putting in and how it's made a difference in terms of his ability to breathe. And if you remember, I mean, this time last summer, that was a real talking point with Treylon Burks. I think during the season, he didn't really disappoint. It was more injuries than anything else, and I think he showed flashes of the type of player he could still be. So I think there's some optimism there. But the thing is with Burks, he's always going to get compared to A.J. Brown. That's one thing, and that's unfair probably for any rookie. But the Titans really haven't done enough around him. I think certainly if you look at the receiving room, they had more last year than what they have now.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessean joins us right now. Gentry, rookie mini camp has come upon. Everybody saw the videos on Twitter and overreacting a little bit, but you actually had an interesting article on the Tennessean specifically talking about Tyjae Spears. There were some concerns after he was drafted, just health concerns with the ACL, but what did you see from him in just the brief period of rookie mini camp?
Yeah, I liked what I saw from him, and there's a disclaimer with all this that
yes.
It's a rookie mini camp practice, so there's really only so much you're going to be able to tell. But he was really good in the open field. He had, I guess you call it, wiggle, where defenders were having a hard time with him, and I think it meshed a lot with some of the highlights you saw from him coming out of Tulane, and that was encouraging to me from the standpoint of it gives the Titans something that they really haven't had a lot in the past. You're kind of looking in the off season and saying, all right, well, where are they better? And you can make a case for certain aspects here and there. But this was the first time I really looked at them and said, okay, this is something they haven't had. If you get another option besides Derrick Henry at that position that isn't just a third down back, a guy that can really be a problem in a lot of ways for defenses. And I think if he's healthy, that's a big if. And I got into that in the column too. But if he's healthy, I think he could make a real difference.
I think based off this team, we put a little asterisk after everything we say. That's if they're healthy, this season
that's right.
could go.
Yeah, we've learned that. Yeah.
We have learned that. Gentry, kind of taking a step back and looking at this team as a whole after the draft and after free agency, there was an interesting article that actually came out on ESPN ranking all 32 teams in the NFL and had the Tennessee Titans at 28th. Do you think that there's a perception from maybe the national media that Tennessee, because they drafted Will Levis, they're already ready to move off of Tannehill, even though he is still under contract and he's still on the team and he probably won't be cut after June 1st, that there's maybe a sense that Will Levis could be that starter? Because I kind of look at this team, I look at they're playing the, a lot of toss-up games this year. They don't have a first-place schedule. I look at this team as, not as awful maybe as some people are viewing it, and them being able to win 7, 8, maybe 9 games, especially since they have a coach in Mike Vrabel and the defense is pretty solid.
Yeah, I think people are underestimating the defense, and also the fact that they're in a terrible division where there's a good chance they're not going to be any worse than second. So, that's worth better than 28th probably right there. But I think a lot of people are looking at the Titans right now, and I kind of include myself on this, and say you don't know what they are. And you see a team that it seems to be caught between the idea of, letting the old guard have one last run at it versus rebuilding and scrapping and starting over. They've done things this offseason that hinted at both of those. And I think it's hard to really look at them right now and know what they are. But it's also hard to say, okay, if you don't know this team, intimately, when you look at what they have, why are the Titans going to be good? Well, Derrick Henry, there were rumors they were trying to move him. Tannehill, rumors they were trying to move him too. Kevin Byard, rumors, he asked him to take a pay cut. Maybe Jeffrey Simmons, but it's just, this is a league where the games get decided by the best players. And there for a while, the Titans had guys who were considered top 5, top 10 at each position, and they just don't have that as much anymore.
Gentry Estes is with us. Now, Gentry, let's say that this rule does apply this fall, that the Titans can keep 3 quarterbacks. Do you think that they would it would be a no-brainer to keep all 3 of them, but do you think it's that easy for them to just go ahead and pick 3 guys and have them stay here that we have already in? Or do you think someone like a Malik Willis gets cut or just gets put on the practice squad?
You're asking if there's a rule change?
Yes.
Well, if there's a rule change and you can keep 3, they'll keep Malik Willis, I think. I feel like, everybody's out on him, and I get why. I mean, I watched the games last year too, but this is a guy who really wasn't expected to play at all last year, and he got put out there behind an offensive line that couldn't keep the other guy healthy, a depleted receiving core, a coordinator that ended up getting fired. I mean, I'm eager to kind of see Malik Willis when he's got a little bit fairer shot than he had last year.
Now, to follow that up, do you think perhaps if the Titans are set on moving on from him, is it as easy as a cut? Or do you think they possibly package him in a trade that maybe go get a wide receiver or something else that they need?
I don't know if you could move Malik Willis for much in terms of a receiver, and we'll see. I think it would do him a lot of good and the Titans a lot of good if he came out in the preseason and played real well. Even if they were committed to moving on from him, he could make a real statement and probably increase his value. But at this point, it's hard to really see that.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessean on with us right now. Gentry, looking at this defense, a lot of guys coming back from last year. Obviously, you get the deal done with Jeffrey Simmons. You got Danico Autry. But I'm kind of looking at the secondary, and I'm looking at a guy specifically in Christian Fulton and how important this year is for him. He's in a contract year. We all know the comments Mike Vrabel made at the end of last season on the callus and the blister, which is going to be the new term everybody's going to use on players working through injuries. David Long Jr. is no longer on this team, but Christian Fulton, another guy who struggled with those soft tissue injuries. How important do you think it is that he doesn't only stay healthy this year, but also performs at a high level?
Yeah, I mean, clearly they need him to do that, and for his own future, yeah, that would be important to do that too. And Christian Fulton's a guy who's good enough to play in this league. He's shown that during his time with the Titans. It's just a matter of staying healthy, and I think you could say that about a lot of their guys. When you look at the secondary, I think this is the guy they need probably as much as anyone is Amani Hooker to really step up and be that guy. They gave him a deal where they were committed to him being a difference maker at the back of that defense. And, he's another guy that needs to be able to stay healthy enough to do that.
Other than Treylon Burks, what guy do you think in his second year needs to be very productive for this team this year?
Kyle Phillips. And, when you go, I'm going back now and I'm watching the games from last season. I always try to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think people forget when you go back and watch that first game, how productive he was and how much the Titans really were going to be in a position where they're going to have to rely on him to produce last year. Now, whether or not you should have been there with a fifth-round receiver, that's another discussion, but they were there. And Phillips had a big punt return in that game. He had a couple of big catches there with the game on the line. Yes. Ryan Tannehill threw the ball more to him than anybody else. And, you end up losing him to injury for most of the season. And I think, in hindsight, we probably don't place enough importance on that and what that did to a guy that was really in a position to help them and had a really good preseason. So he's a guy, I mean, it's very clear to me the weakest part of the team, and they've done much this offseason to address receivers. So maybe they like that group better than we do, maybe, and Kyle Phillips has something to do with that.
Well, I hope they like it better than we do. Gentry Estes from the Tennessean joins us. You can follow him on Twitter at Gentry_Estes. Gentry, thank you so much for hopping on with us today.
You bet. Take care, guys.
Gentry Estes from the Tennessean. Going to discuss some comments he had. I am completely on the same page with Gentry. I think Kyle Phillips needs to have a huge year. And I go back to that Giants game. You watch that last big drive by Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. Kyle Phillips, you could clearly tell he had the most chemistry with him, the biggest connection with him. And on the game on the line, they missed the kicks. So what could he be to this offense this year? Nick and I will put a bow on things coming up next. We'll give you our best bets for tonight on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The offseason is in full swing, but there's no slowing down ESPN's Teron Davenport.
The flow of information.
He talks the talk.
Spears gives you that guy that can still hit the home run.
And walks the walk.
As a run blocker, he's going to murder a linebacker at the second level.
On everything Titans, TD is on Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, Friday mornings at 8, and anytime on the Talkin' with TD podcast. TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tools of the Game, brought to you by Northern Tool and Equipment, helping problem solvers for over 40 years. Northern Tool has anniversary sale savings. Take $50 off the Power Horse 3200 PSI pressure washer. Now just $299.99. Limited time only. Northern Tool and Equipment.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Looking for a big diamond? Genesis Diamonds introduces our Elite Collection, all new for this year. These are large, rare diamonds in the top 1% of the world. 3 carat, 4 carat, 5 carat, up to 10 carat precious diamonds for the most discriminating buyers who appreciate quality. Genesis owners travel worldwide, tapping a vast network of diamond cutters, carefully hand-selecting each of these remarkable diamonds. We invite you to view this premium collection of GIA-certified diamonds, rounds, cushion cuts, emerald cuts, even fancy colored diamonds in size and quality never before seen here. And to showcase these exquisite stones, only Genesis has the finest handcrafted rings from all the world-class designers. If this is the year you're upgrading her original diamond, or you just want to go big for the first time, no need to travel to New York or Los Angeles or Antwerp. Genesis Diamonds' elite collection of large precious diamonds is here in Nashville. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Buffalo Bills Center of the West in Cody, Wyoming welcomes you as you enter Yellowstone Park's east entrance. 5 museums in one, including a wonderful Plains Indian Museum. Welcome to the West. Buffalo Bills Center of the West, Cody, Wyoming.
Meet Joe A, Hi. Joe B, Hello. And Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tune in for Nashville Sounds baseball tonight at 5:35. On 94.9 The Fan, the Sounds take on the Durham Bulls, AAA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays. Sounds baseball on 94.9, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. Welcome back in, Chase and Michelle. We are live from our game studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser, rounding out things today. Gentry Estes came on. I think Gentry's comment, lastly, on who is going to be one of the most significant players who needs to be impactful this year from year 1 to year 2 is Kyle Phillips. And I'm on the same page as Gentry. I mean, I think back to that Giants game and I think back to training camp on how effective Kyle Phillips was. And I understand it's not a full NFL season and he ended up not being a factor after that. But if he can stay healthy, and I feel like I say this when I talk about any aspect of sports, which I need to stop, but if Kyle Phillips can be a factor for this team, you know, if he's a returner for you, if he's your slot guy, Ryan Tannehill and him clearly have chemistry. If he can be a clear number 2 for you, Treylon Burks can be a clear number 1 for you, and I guess if Nick Westbrook-Akine is your wide receiver 3, you know, you start to feel a little bit more confident about this offense. Chig Okonkwo, he's going to be another guy who I think is up there in the needs to take a big step from year 1 to year 2. And what does this offense look like under Tim Kelly? How different is it? I think we've heard from Chig Okonkwo, Ryan Tannehill, Treylon Burks. They've all spoken to the media. in whether it be a couple days ago or about a week ago when they first spoke, that they're excited, and you can tell that this offense is different, but what will it actually look like on the field? And will the conversation turn to be, oh my gosh, the offense is fine, it was just Todd Downing? We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Then you have Derrick Henry.
See, that's the biggest question, I think, for the entire fan base is how much different are these Titans going to be? Because if this new scheme is elaborate and they just don't, there were a couple of different plays last year I questioned, and a lot of them may have been running plays from my point of view, but, we hear all the time, just give Henry the ball. Well, we can't always give him the ball. We need to be more of a traditional style offense if you're thinking about it as the Titans.
Yeah, but I think that's also the misconception. I mean,
Sure.
They are a traditional style offense. It's just that Derrick Henry was really their only threat last year, and they had a bad offensive line. I think that's a misconception people have. I just think for Todd Downing, the plays were too predictable, and you didn't have a guy like A.J.
Sure.
Brown. So the drop-off was significant. You also had an offensive line that struggled tremendously throughout the year, and then you lose your quarterback. So when you put all of those things together, who is going to have a successful offense? I mean, nobody. You really aren't. I mean, if all of those things go wrong for you, there's a 97% chance your offense is not going to look good. If you have one of the worst lines in the league, if your number one wide receiver is hurt for a significant portion of the year, and then if your rookie quarterback who you got in the third round has to be thrown in there because your starting quarterback got hurt, I mean, the likelihood of being successful in a situation like that is, nobody would be successful.
Well,
in a
yeah, it's very
situation like that.
slim.
So this year, you can tell just based off the excitement, I think, from the players, the comments that they have made. This offense is new. It's exciting. We've seen Tim Kelly have success with Deshaun Watson down in Houston when Deshaun Watson started down there. And I'll say, too, the year when the Tennessee Titans had the number one seed, Tim Kelly was pretty successul with Davis Mills. They still were the Texans. They didn't have the talent level on their roster. But I will say, Davis Mills looked pretty efficient with them down there. And if we don't forget the last game of the season, the Tennessee Titans had to play the Houston Texans, and that game got close for a second in order for them to clinch the one seed. So I think people are excited. I think that Tim Kelly was the guy that Mike Vrabel wanted to hire all along for his offensive coordinator because he tried to interview him, but the Texans blocked it and didn't allow him to. So what does that look like? What does Tim Kelly look like as an offensive coordinator with the personnel that he is given? So that'll be one of the biggest questions, and I think Kyle Phillips is going to be a big part of that. Like I mentioned, not only in the wide receiver room, but special teams as well and in returning. But like we like to do every single day, we like to put a bow on things here, and we like to give you our best bets on Superbook Sports. We've got Game 2 tonight, the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. 7:30 tip. This one's going to be, I might be saying Eastern time.
I believe it is 7:30.
Okay. I always get so confused. We're in Central Time here, and I never know which apps change it on my phone. So, okay, we've got Lakers and we've got the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are a 5.5-point favorite, similar line to the other night. I look at this game, and if the Lakers don't win this game, I have a very hard time picking them to win this series. I do think Denver goes up 2-0 in this one. And I also do think that they're going to cover that 5.5-point spread. The under-over is 226.5. I'm going to take the under. That is a big total there. So I'm going to take the under of 226.5. But I look at this team. I look at the way that Jokic is performing. Jokic is averaging 31 points, 12 rebounds, and I think 10 assists.
Is that the entire postseason?
Postseason.
Okay.
That's what he's averaging.
Well, yeah, he's been insane, and I remember dropping that in my update yesterday. He had an insane game the other night.
Mm-hmm.
The best way for me to look at it too, Michelle, is that was kind of a blowout in terms of how many points were scored. It was close toward the end, but I think after these teams got a read on one another, the defense might be a little closer as far as coverage goes this evening. So I would also take the under just based on the fact that they've probably picked up each other a little bit more than they gauged each other to start the series.
Mm-hmm.
So I would also lean toward the Nuggets tonight. This is a big, big game, and I would love to see what LeBron James's record is in the Western Conference Final or maybe even just in conference finals if he's trailing 1-0 or 2-0, because if he has any success rate, I'd like to see what it is.
Well, and one of the biggest flaws of this Lakers team is that they're awful with defense in transition. They cannot guard in transition. We have older guys on the team. And the Denver Nuggets, what they started with in the game was just running up and down the court. Jokic getting a rebound and quite literally having Jamal Murray at the other side running across the court, passing it to him, and getting those points in transition. And you add in them playing in Denver, which will tire you out more. They said that so many times on the broadcast. You add in LeBron is 38 years old. You're not having as much rest in between these games to be able to rehab and to be able to take care of your body. I think that game, the way it started, if this game starts that way too and Denver's able to get a comfortable lead, which wouldn't surprise me, the Lakers are going to be in trouble. They're an efficient defensive team, but not in transition. So if Denver decides to play fastball like they did the other night, I just can't see this Lakers team coming out of this series. I truly can't. Then again, who knows with LeBron? He could prove me wrong. He seems to prove a lot of people wrong. He's still 38, and he's still performing at a high level. But I look at what Jokic has done. You got Michael Porter Jr., you got Jamal Murray. Just this team as a whole, they've been the best team in the West all year long. I think they go up 2-0 tonight. And then on the NHL side of things, we talked to Greg Wyshynski, who is in Raleigh right now for the Hurricanes and the Panthers. Game 1. This one's a tough one for me. I want to pick the Canes because, of course, home ice. But, I think something that we've seen in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far is that, does home ice really mean that much? I don't know. So I'm actually going to take the Panthers in Game 1. They got a little value there on the puck line, plus 110. I'm going to take the Panthers to take Game 1, Nick. What are you looking at for the Game 1 for Hurricanes and Panthers?
So I did see this earlier. It was sort of some breaking news with the Hurricanes. Teuvo Teravainen is coming back.
Oh.
He broke his hand in the first round, and he's already back. So he'll be coming back. I'm also going to lean more toward the Hurricanes in this game, just based on the fact they're at home. They get a guy back. They're energized. And I also think Freddie Anderson playing at home has been an unbalanced matchup so far in the postseason. So if he stays anywhere near the same, I think they'll be fine. Their defense has been stellar. The old man, Brent Burns, the animal lover that he is, I think he is one himself. His beard shows it as well. He's got the playoff beard going.
Playoff beard.
I definitely think he's someone that's going to carry that defense as far as experience goes. Give me the Hurricanes.
Okay, you got the Hurricanes. I got the Panthers, and we both have the Nuggets tonight. Sorry, Derek Mason, about your Lakers. We will recap all tomorrow on Chase and Michelle. Coming up next, Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Tonight, LeBron